Lighthouse was designed to provide light in times of darkness and encourage unity through partnerships and collaborations on our unbiased, all-in-one platform that integrates the best features of video hosting, social media, and e-commerce. Browse a creator's store while watching their video, and check your newsfeed while continuing to watch the video. Create a post, build communities with groups, or make a custom page. Shop your favorite products while continuing to watch the video, and simply close the video player at any time.
Welcome, fellow brave believers. This is Kingdom Cast. I'm your host, Sean, and this is the podcast where we search for knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of His Word and this world so we can better relate His Word to this world. And I want to thank you for being here tonight. We're going to pick up part 18 in our Investigating Babylon series. Tonight, we're going to talk about Baal-top towers and in what role they play in this overall grand deception that leads to Mother Babylon. So thanks for being here. And we have a lot of people already in the chats. It's pretty amazing that there's so many people that are interested in this series. And my wife, she laughs. She's like, "This is my favorite series," and I'm just sitting there going, it's fascinating stuff. It can be fascinating stuff, and I hope that I'm portraying this information to you in a way that encourages you to know your Bible better, and not just get wrapped up in what's the enemy doing next, right? Because the whole point of knowing what the enemy is doing is seeing how the Father's going to counter it, or see how you in your life and your actions can counter it. So hopefully it becomes a point of inspiration to realize, okay, there is evil being perpetrated in this world, and the Father has already told us what this is and what this looks like, and so we're kind of breaking down the enemy, but at the same time, hopefully you guys are getting a better understanding of how to walk in the truth also as a result of this. So really appreciate everybody that's been following this series. Looks like we already have GR Cleve is back. Welcome, brother. Miss Marcia's here. Wendy Moore, Chico 1985, Michael John, Deciphering Truth, Linda Carter, West Blaze Music, Chris S., Gerald Tadlock. Welcome, everyone. There's quite a few more Blue Doves this year. Colin Crockett, Ann McKenzie. Welcome, everybody. So just as a general thank you to everyone, guys, I try to do this as often as I can because I just want to say a big shout out and thank you to everyone that's our Patreon supporter and everyone that's been supporting us, what we're doing here, both on both channels, Kingdom in Context and Kingdom Cast. A lot of you send wonderful letters, encouraging letters, emails. You'll send support as well through PayPal or the PO box in addition to our Patreon. So I just want to give a big shout out, big thanks. As you saw in the opening there, we are doing the contextual study guide. So this is something I'm going book by book. Just sent another book off to the guy that's helped me with the editing process. A big shout out to Tom. He'll probably be watching this tomorrow. He may be asleep right now. But big shout out to Tom that's been helping me with that and getting that in that professional look that you guys are. And we're going to be releasing another book to the Patreon exclusive early access. So just as a refresher, what we're doing is we're taking over 100 to 101 books that we're going to be compiling of scripture that have basically, as you saw in the advert there, I have commentary added. I also have cross-referenced scriptures. I have literary points of context to help you find out an easy way to go through these books and see all the themes that are repeated constantly in the scriptures and the verses that apply to them to give you a better understanding of that theme, as well as how to sometimes dig in deeper into the text and find context so you can have better understanding. It's my belief, and it's kind of my tagline, that context creates comprehension. And this is what I try to do with that contextual study guide of scripture. So if you're interested in that, go to our Patreons in the video description links below, and you can get early access at the family tier level. And then once then you'll be notified, quicker once we actually get all the books finished and send them off to a publisher to make one big book. And just recently, we had a brother reach out to us. Good news, guys, on that front. We had a brother reach out to us that wants to help us with a website and an app development for it. I've had two of them reach out to me. One of them I'm trying to communicate with, but the other one we did get together, and he is interested in helping us. Apparently, he used to own and had sold a tech company in the past, and so he's wanting to help us get a website together for the study guide. So that's pretty amazing. It's a huge, huge blessing the Father's trying to throw on us. So If you guys are interested in that, Patreon's links below. So without further ado, guys, let us jump into our presentation tonight, because we're going to be talking about something I've mentioned many times as we've went over the last 17 parts of this presentation. And just as a refresher, there'll be 21 total parts to this presentation. But we've mentioned a few times, I think even as early as the first part, I started mentioning ball top towers because we were reviewing some in the background that you could see in Dubai as we were looking at different types of tall architecture and things like that that's being built around the world. But it's not just Dubai; it's everywhere, absolutely everywhere. The ball top towers. It's pretty amazing, guys. Let's look at this is the presentation we've been doing. Okay, we're going over Mystery Babylon, or we're leading up to figuring out who is Mystery Babylon. And a lot of people have a lot of different theories and ideas. Hopefully, I'm building a very thorough, sound, scripturally accurate, historically accurate case to show you who are the players, who are the people, what is this reference in Scripture, both in Isaiah and Revelation, about Mystery Babylon, and how can we be confident in knowing what it's talking about. So this is what we're trying to do. I'm sorry. But we did 7 parts of this series in the past. We did 7 on the present. We did 7 on the future. Now, technically, or we're doing 7 on the future. Now, technically, this particular topic of ball top towers could have been put into the present because we're looking at present day architecture, but it's not just in the present day. It's actually also in the past. There's architecture in the past that also has ball top towers or a semblance thereof. And it alludes to something in the future. Now, the reason why I had to wait to almost the very end of this series to talk about this is because it has so much to do with what is revealed in the future from Mother Babylon. Okay, big introduction, but let's get into it. All over the world, guys, ball top towers. It's a huge thing. They're everywhere. This is this is one of the Petronas towers. I think it's in Malaysia. And this is it's a metal encasement around the actual top of the tower. A lot of people they wonder, does it have some sort of communication property? Is it some sort of secret energy weapon? Honestly, guys, I'm gonna hate to burst your bubble, but when I show you what I'm gonna try to show and walk you through tonight, it doesn't have any advanced. There's no Tesla tech involved. We went over to the Vajra idea in part 2 of this series, and we talked about that. This is much more symbolic, not just in its placement, but in its meaning, and we'll get into it. So this is the Petronas towers, as you can see, 2 similarly built towers that both have these balls on top, or just the shape of a sphere on the top of them. Here's in China. I think this is in Shanghai. Huge, multiple spheres, 3 of them that you can easily see of this architectural overlook. And actually, look to the bottom right as well. I think I have these further on the slide as a bigger picture, but you can see these 2 spheres on the ground as well. So this isn't this. We're going to get into how these are on top of buildings everywhere, but they're also a huge architectural piece that is used symbolically in other things. And I think you guys will be pretty interested once we get to the end of it. Here's another building in China with put up a sphere ball on the top of it. This is not a water tower. Many of these are decorative. Many of these are not observation towers. Many of these have no communication abilities built into them secretly by the state or even by local radio and TV companies. Many of these are simply decorative, and you'll see what I mean as we keep going. So here's another observation tower. I think this is actually in Ontario, Canada. Oh, no, wait. I can't remember where this particular one's from, but this one's in Ontario, Canada. This is in Dubai. This is one that we noticed in the background of one of our episodes in part 1. This is Dubai. This is at Mecca in Saudi Arabia. So this is a massive building, guys. This is what I think they call this the Kingdom Clock Tower or something like that. And it's actually got a jewel-encrusted sphere, blue sphere that's wrapped almost like a Russian Easter egg with nice gold around it. It's wrapped underneath this spire that leads up to the crescent moon of Islam. So this is at the top as well. So the point is, this is not even just cultural. This is not. I've already shown you Malaysia, China, Canada. This is Saudi Arabia, and this one's directly tied to their religion, because as we've been discussing throughout all this, it's all the same religion. They just have different maskings, different names throughout different cultures. This particular Kingdom Tower is massive. It's one of the biggest building structures in the world. It's as you can see, I think it's like 100 stories at the top, but so that means the other stories next to it are huge, like 50, 60 stories. It's massive. Here's a building in Detroit with the ball top on top. Now this one is put on top of a radio system. As you can see, they put cell towers all around it as well in recent years. Here's another one that's on like an observation tower. I believe this is in Dallas. Not a radio system. Decorative observation tower. Here's another one. Not an observatory. It's not a stellarium. It's not a telescope. It's just a decorative ball on top of a big building. This one is super creepy. This is in Riyadh. I believe it's Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Not only is it encased in a sphere-like concept, kind of like we saw at the tips of the Vajras, but across the city is like another shaped building that if you line them up, it looks just like Lord of the Rings. It's wild. It looks just like Mount Doom and the Eye of Sauron. It's crazy. It's like they were fans of Tolkien or something and the architects decided to build this concept inside Riyadh, but people didn't know it. But point is, here's another decorative, non-observatory, enclosed, silver, goldish looking ball on top of a building. Now this, guys, this is interesting. This is a new project that went up in Las Vegas recently. And this is it's a big movie theater, basically. And from what I understand, the outside of it has this screen ability where it can look like a TV screen. They can project stuff on the inside and on the outside of the screen, which is really crazy. All right, this is very interesting, guys. Look how beautiful this well-designed and well-built city is. Any guesses in the live chat tonight? Any guess of what city this is that you're looking at? I doubt anyone will guess. I doubt anyone will guess it right. Oh, I know there's a small delay. I'll give it just 1 minute. People are guessing Dubai. No. People are guessing the Vatican. No. Look at this well-designed, very modern city. Someone else is guessing it's in India. No, it's not. All right, guys. I'll just go ahead and tell you. I think this was in Kazakhstan. You ever heard of Kazakhstan? Not many people understand or know where it is. This is in Kazakhstan. There's that ball top tower right down the center colonnade, taken from this prestigious house. Look at this. And that's the domed tower, which looks like a Capitol building with the blue dome on top. That was the doorway at the bottom, was where that picture was taken, looking across the colonnade to this dome top tower here on the right-hand side of the screen. Now, let's just take a look and just take in everything in this photo. Look at this photo, guys. Look at this. This is insanity. In the far backdrop, you've got a ball top tower on a large sphere, or a large, just a tower behind the pyramid. So they got the pyramid. They got the downward triangle accentuated in the top of the pyramid within the pyramid. They've got a ball top tower under the eagle, under the sunburst. You go across the courtyard and you get to which is the president's house. And he's got the dome with the obelisk. We talked about that in episode 8 and 9. He's got the ball top tower on top of the obelisk. Left and right of the colonnades, you've got more obelisk-like structures with obelisk-like towers on top of them. And then you've got this bursting, upheld and supported, enclosed gold ball. sitting across the way. This is crazy, guys. This is craziness. All of them together. This is the backside view of that same president's quarters. We're actually going to skip that clip because I'll get copyright and I'll try to take this down. So this is what we see, this symbolism in modern depictions of cinema and movies. This is a very overlooked movie. I think a lot of people didn't really appreciate this movie because it just seemed like to rehash some ideas from the early 1950s and 60s from Disney, but then aren't realizing what they're looking at. This is a Disney movie from 2015 called Tomorrowland, and this is George Clooney. I don't know the other actresses on the left, but as you can see, this George Clooney on the right. And as you can see in the backdrop, there's a futuristic city with a ball next to the top spire of the largest tower. Okay. So this particular photo, or this city, was called the Tomorrow World. And this is basically, they only could get there. It was actually invisible. It was actually always there. It was just invisible to the naked eye. You just had to have the right symbol that she had, this little emblem in her hand that she held to touch, and it would allow her to see this invisible place. I think that was very interesting with what we're going to be revealing once we get to part 20. In the back, though, this futuristic city with this extremely large tower that stretched to the sky above all the others has a ball up towards the top of it. And this ball played an important role in the movie. This particular ball, it's supposed to be electromagnetically held to the side of this massive tower in the middle. So it's suspended in the air. It's throughout the whole movie. And at the end of the movie, they go inside the ball. That's the whole escalating concept of the movie, is that the ball controlled reality. And that's what they learn at the end of the movie. Now, look here does anyone notice anything unique about this poster? This is like one of those games. What shouldn't be there? What's out of place about this poster? What's not right about this poster? Can anyone guess? Put it in the comments, the chat. What is this poster not supposed to have? Yeah, Miss Marsha already got it. It's got 2 moons. The only thing is, Marsha, just like Obi-Wan says, that's no moon. So the moon is in the foreground. The moon is front and center at the top right. What's this thing above the tower? Here is the actual visual designer of the movie and his personal creations for the movie that were released online as he was being interviewed. And this was what he depicted for the tower and the ball that would be electromagnetically linked to this tower. This is what and what's interesting is he claims that this was something that consumed him for years to try to figure out how to design this. So even in the photo stills that they're trying to promote the movie, because they want people to go buy tickets, so they're taking all these different shots of Clooney and then Photoshop it into different parts of the movie. It's in all of them, all the posters of the movie. It's a little bit closer view. What's interesting is and look at this depiction, because this is similar to the artist depiction that we saw earlier. One of the images that wasn't released. This one right here. Hard to see from this angle, but the bottom of it you can see better as it has turned a little bit in this picture, and it actually looks like an eye. This here, we're going to talk about this towards the end. This is another one of the posters for the movie, and they've got the Tomorrowland, the circle being dramatized with what they call a space symbol, but there's something more to it, putting that ball in the center of the image. So back to Las Vegas. In Las Vegas, they have this arena, and this isn't the only one in the world. They're building other ones like these around the world, where you can see inside and out of it. Supposedly, you can see the external, can promote pictures and advertisements and things, and then inside of it's like a huge domed shape video screen, right? They'll have concerts. Totally immersed is what they call it. And I believe this is the one in London as well. This is also the one that they've just finished construction, I believe, in London. It was supposed to go up in 2019. It got halted, and then I think they just finished construction over the past 2 years on this one as well. That's why they keep showing these different ideas of it having the outside of it as a picture, like it's a video screen, because it's supposed to be like a big video screen. So here's in London's large architecture. Here's the sphere that we just saw on screen that is being, compared to with height. So it's a big arena. I think it holds like 13,000 people. This is the interior design, the stadium inside the sphere, just a big TV screen to indoctrinate you better, right? So this is also in Greenwich, London. This is the Greenwich, they call it the Time Ball. Do you guys know that's been here for hundreds of years? The Greenwich Time Ball. You guys know that Greenwich is like the actual marking line, if you will, I believe, for one of the time zones. So this is the Greenwich Time Ball, which leads us to another time ball. This is going to be New York City's most worldwide famous celebration of New Year's Eve and the big ball drop that they have every year. There's a ball on top of a pillar that gets dropped every year for New Year's Eve. Big celebration, big deal. Why do they care about a ball drop? Why a ball drop? How does that relate to the new year? Why does it even matter? Here's another architectural design of a sphere. I think this one's in Japan. Here is another one. I believe this one was in Italy. No, this was actually in Dubai. It's one of the conference centers in Dubai, another big sphere. This one is unique, guys. This is actually the Academy Awards Museum in Hollywood. Now, what's unique about this is not only is it a sphere design, but its actual design, the designer of it, inside this museum, he's got images from an anime cartoon that we talked about a couple of episodes back when we talked about the automatons. We talked about the image of the beast. And we looked at this book, this famous book that became the ideas taken from Gulliver's Travels that was turned into an anime. I think it was 1984, about this young girl and a robot, and it's like an anime issue. She's a witch and she can fly to the city that has this robot, comes down from the city, and there's multiple robots in the city, this floating city. That's where he got the design for the Academy Awards Museum building in Hollywood. And he even, supposedly, according to the article I read, he even pays homage to that anime by putting images up from the anime in the museum. Of all the animes in all the world, that's the one he loves. That's the one he builds a building after. Very interesting. Here's more architecture. I'm not sure exactly which city this one is in. Here's another one. This one, I believe this one is it's in China, actually. I can't remember the name of the city in China, but this is in China. Don't remember what this one was. This is the artist's depiction of one that they're building, I think, in Germany. I think. Yeah, see, someone in the comments saying, yeah, they're remembering me talking about that anime a few weeks back. And I apologize, not all these episodes are linked every week or every, it takes me time to get together the right presentation in the right way and make sure I've got all the bases covered. But the overall outline I've had for this whole time. So therefore it's just, I know that you guys are just getting this information a piece at a time. And sometimes there's several weeks in between, but all of it is connected. So when I'm done after 21 parts, you can go back and just literally watch them all. I'll put in a playlist. You can just watch them all in succession and you'll see that all this information is connected. That's why I can't just do one show and tell you who Mother Babylon is. We got to go through history, through the Bible. We got to go through medicine. We got to go through all kinds of imagery and propaganda and predictive programming because it's everywhere. So, and then, once we get to the actual revelation of it, to how it's taken care of and what happens in Revelation, that's all. This is going to make sense more. of why the world glorifies the sphere. This is the new Apple. I believe this one is in Paris. I think it's in Paris. It's a new Apple store. This is an actual store, supposedly. And you walk out on the bridge to it. Yeah. Here's another. I can't remember exactly what building this was about. If it's, I don't think it's an observatory. It's like a factory of some sort. But yep, it's a big sphere that they decided to build out of it. Here's more. Remember, we looked earlier in China, the multiple spheres. So this is the ones on the ground next to the observatory in China, the multiple spheres. So there's 3 of them. They've even painted the world on these spheres. Think about this, guys. What we're looking at is the glorification of the sphere to the point of it's shared by the world. And this isn't just something that, oh, this modern architecture that the world believes is a sphere. Therefore, they think it's a fun shape to start building stuff out of. No, it's not the shape of the land that they're glorifying. Here's another one. I can't remember exactly what this one was. It's actually a piece of architecture in the center of a town square. I think it was in Bolivia. This one is in, oh man, I want to say Peru. I apologize. I don't remember all the different. I think this one was in Peru. Or no, this one was in Italy. So you've got the obelisk next to the big sphere. This is Epcot. Everyone knows about Epcot in the United States. The big sphere. This one was crazy. This one made me laugh. I was just, all these other ones are symbolic. They lift them with the building, or with stilts, or on the top of the obelisk. This one literally is suspended with wires in the center of a town square in New Zealand. It's a floating sphere in New Zealand. That's the artwork. Oh, by the way, look at that. There's a pyramid behind it. What are the chances? Do you guys remember when we looked at that Kazakhstan, the huge complex in Kazakhstan with that gold ball at the end of the colonnade, with its flowering up pushing architecture at the base of the sphere of the tower, lifting up the sphere? Well, look in the background at the 2 lights left and right of the pyramid. It's the same design. This is in New Zealand. This is not Kazakhstan. This is in New Zealand. The suspended sphere, similar architecture next to a pyramid. Yes, Colin, I am sphere mongering. Absolutely. I'm trying to make you afraid of this sphere because it is a point of indoctrination, and they're putting in your face where the source of the indoctrination is coming from. And that's what we're going to get to in part 20. This is one of the Capitol buildings. I can't remember exactly which state. They're on almost all the Capitol buildings in the United States, in each state. Spheres everywhere. Everywhere. They're up there. This one's even decorative on left and right on multiple places, even the base sides of the steps. They're everywhere on all of them. There's so many of them. It's everywhere. It's uniformed. It's uniform, guys. And we know this same type of architecture. This is why it's so interesting. Look at all this architecture. Look, these are all these Capitol buildings. It's all this Greek historic architecture. A lot of people will be like, well, some of that's Roman, guys. The Romans just took over the Greeks. The same architecture, same gods they worship. It's the same concept. Look at all this. No, I don't believe in Tartaria. No, I don't. I'm not. People can still build these today. They can still build these today. It's not a big deal. They build them in different places all the time. This is an homage to that ancient architecture. And the ball at the top is the same type of homage, just like the dome, just like the columns, just like the flower designs on the columns that represented Osiris's favorite tree, Apollyon's favorite tree. All of it, guys. Here's more. Here's more. All over the world. Domes, balls on top of the domes, Greek architecture. It's all the same. It's all the same all over the world. It's the same religion they're worshiping, and they show it to you in what they build because it's their representation of worship to what they have allegiance to. And unfortunately, it's not your constitution. All over the world. Balls on top everywhere. Everywhere. And they put them on the ground, like we talked about. This one is, I think this one was out in front of the World Trade Center before it was destroyed. And I'll show it to you. They kept it. After it's destroyed, I'll show it to you. This one was a art piece that was celebrated in the late 1970s, early 80s in Chicago. People came out and took all these big pictures with it. Just big black ball, just a big sphere, just a big black sphere that they put out in front of the History Museum or the Art Museum in Chicago. Everyone thought it was a big deal. So cool. Got all this press. Just a big black sphere. Oh, here's another big black sphere where I used to live in this town called Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I've actually seen this thing, and because I used to work downtown, and I thought it was super creepy. So if you can see here on the left-hand side, I'll move my screen off here so you can see on the left-hand side at the bottom. This is below what they call the Williams Tower. It's a 60-story building with this open courtyard out in the front where they have this statue of the sphere. And then, as you can see in the pictures, around the sphere are these statues of people that are made out of bronze, and there's different age groups and different male and female fathers, grandfathers, different ethnicities that are represented with these statues, and they're all facing the sphere in adulation and worship. They're facing the black globe in adulation and worship. It's super creepy. Super creepy, guys. I noticed it before I even understood what I'm sharing with you tonight. I noticed it back in the day. Yeah, these are the people. These are the little. I wish you could see all of them. I couldn't find a picture that shows all of them because there's some that are literally raising their hands to it. Here's another sphere art display that someone jumped on top of, doing a prank. Suddenly, what have I been telling you guys about ancient Greece? All this architecture, how it's all the same. Look at Atlas. What's Atlas doing up there at the top of the pyramid? Holding up the sphere. Everyone knows about Atlas, ancient Greece, one of the gods that was commissioned to hold up the world. Look at him. What's he doing up there? Why is he holding up this sphere? The sphere of heaven is what they would call it. The one with the stars wrapped around it. Here's Atlas down here in below one of the buildings in New York City. Holding up the sphere everywhere. Atlas is a popular guy, isn't he? He's everywhere. Here are the Golden Globes. Spheres on towers. Golden Globes. Remember what we were looking at earlier about the gold? How many of these spheres on top of these architecture in these cities were gold? It's interesting. Here's an old burial plot that someone put up for a Masonic lodge. You got the balls on top of the towers, the two towers, and the Masonic symbolism. Oh, so now we see that it's more than just similarity in architectural choice. We see it in history. We see it in what many people call modern history, the rise of the Freemasons. We see it in their artwork in the last 400 or 500 years. Here it is in more of their drawing boards, Masonic artwork. Here it is on one of their aprons, spheres on top of the pillars. And what's interesting, guys, I want you to notice real quick, they also have a sun and moon on the left-hand side of the sunburst in the middle. What's that sunburst in the middle? It's not the sun. Sun's on the left. Same thing with this. You get the spheres that one they call the sphere of the earth, one's the sphere of the heaven in their minds, what they're trying to say. Then they got the moon and the sun on each side with the eye coming down from above. Now look real quick, guys. Look at the eye coming down from above. Look at the rays coming out of the eye and not the sun. This is why they call it the all-seeing eye. This one's you got the spheres on top of the pillars. Similarly to the object at the top center. It is not the sun. It is not the moon, but it is shining. Here it is again. Now there's no sun and moon. Now this is the only thing shining with the spheres on top of the pillars. It's even on their rings, spheres on top of pillars, sun and moon, some kind of black dot inside of the pyramid at the top. It's even in medieval Baroque paintings. Did you guys know that they painted black spheres underneath crowns, doing the occultic Baphomet poses with their fingers? Yeah, even in Baroque, I should say, occult. And this one's more Renaissance. This particular one, I can't remember their names. But these French and Italian artists. He's holding the black sphere. What's the deal? All throughout history and time, just holding the black sphere. You guys, here's another dude supposed to have the sunburst coming out from behind his head. Got his hand on the sphere. Looks like this one actually looks like Han Solo coming out of the carbonite. All right, so now you have a depiction of this. Is I don't believe this depiction, but this is just what was painted by the artist. The angels in heaven attending to Mary as she comes up to God and Jesus the Son. And Jesus the Son in this particular one is holding a sphere in his hand. It looks like it's clear, almost like a crystal ball, right? Here it is again, more Catholic imagery from the Renaissance period. Now the cross is planted on top of the sphere. Here's a black sphere. Another painting. I can't remember this guy, the guy who painted it, but another depiction. They're basically just stealing Jesus's image and ideas and putting in their occultic nonsense like they always do. Here's another one. Oh, now he's got a huge wooden cross on it. Oh, but now here's a sphere on top of Ra's head. They call him the sun god. But remember what the Masons showed us, the same ones who were birthed out of Egyptian ideology, the same Masons who believe the Egyptian lore so much so that a part of their indoctrination ceremonies at the higher levels is to tell these people with Egyptian iconography what they believe the name of God is. And in Egyptian iconography, they had this thing, this disc, wrapped with a serpent on top of Ra's head. Ra was the symbol, the character, the hawk-headed god that was considered the head patron god of ancient Egypt, which the Hebrews would have called Ra Satan. Here it is again on top of Ra's head. We talked about this previously when we went over some ideas. I think it was part 7. I think it was in part 7. It's everywhere. Now there's 2 spheres. It's on both of 2 different types of representations of Ra. Here it is with what I would guess is either a servant or it looks like a pharaoh, like a pharaonic headdress, walking up to Isis. She's also got the Apis bull horns with the sphere in the center that represented Ra. And then Ra himself has a sphere over his head. So if the sphere was supposed to represent Ra, why is Ra carrying the sphere? Why is it always associated with him and everybody else? Now, here's Ra underneath the sphere. The sphere is wrapped in a serpent, but the sphere also has a node in the center to represent something else. We're going to go in this much deeper in next episode as we review. We do our double header. We'll do part 19 and part 20 at the same time. And we'll be talking about the Eye of Ra and eclipses. And then we'll go into part 20 on the same night. I might take like a 10-minute break in between. And then we'll be talking about Mother Babylon, the Dragon's Lair, because I can't do those 2 separately. It's too much information. And it's, like I said, it's all the same information. But as far as that presentation style, like I can't just give you part 19 and leave you hanging. I have to talk about it all at the same time. And now we have the imagery of the black sun. And this is what it's always been about, guys, just like it was a black ball. It's the same imagery. It's the sphere that represents the black sun. What is the black sun? And why is this death character holding the crow, which is representation of death? Nurgle, we talked about the second beast, right? A few episodes back. So that's the same concept. And he's a place where angels can fly. He's in the sky, standing on the black sphere. But what's going on with this black sphere? Because it looks like it's shining like the sun. Well, that's crazy. I wonder if a darkened black spherical object, I wonder what that would look like in the sky next to the sun. Huh, it's interesting. Oh, here it is, a more Freemason Masonic imagery of their two pillars. I think they call them Joe. I can't remember what they call the pillars. Two names. We got the spheres, but now you've got the sphere of the dark circle in the center of the sun. Here is German Aryan SS occult religious iconography, where they chose to put the black sun in the center of their crests, their insignia, their flags, and it is supposed to be the center apex of the design. It's the black sun, and there's even a black sun lodge. It's called the Black Sun Lodge, the Ordo Templi Orientis. I didn't say that right, but it's also an entire lodge dedicated to the black sun. It's pretty weird, huh? It seems like a lot of effort. Why would they do that? You guys remember I talked about at the base of the World Trade Center, there was a silver decorative ball. Well, before that ball was destroyed, this architectural sculpture was put up, and this, I believe, is in Japan. Not New York City, Japan. It's a big sphere that's been partially destroyed. Did you guys ever see Return of the Jedi Part 3? Return of the Jedi, Star Wars Part 3? Where the whole movie, the Death Star, is partially destroyed. It's actually partially built, but it looks like there's a big chunk taken out of it. Here's another same idea of what's supposed to represent a sphere with a highly internal mechanical structure that looks like it has a bunch of gears and cogs as a piece of artwork in Germany. That's weird. And here we have in New York City. They broken and destroyed. They cleaned it up. It's dented. I don't think it's destroyed. I think they just pulled out the actual one that matches the other ones around the world. They pulled out this artistic piece. It looks like a machine that is a sphere itself. Do you guys remember when we talked about the image of the beast and we talked about certain movies? About how Darth Vader comes from a big sphere. About how on that movie, The Day the World Stood Still with Keanu Reeves, he's an alien that shows up in a big sphere, ominous looking sphere. And just for fun, guys, just so you don't think I'm just stretching, right? Just so you don't think I'm just pulling this stuff and stretching this. You're like, okay, well, I see. Yeah, you mentioned China and Kazakhstan and Italy and Paris and London and the United States, and you mentioned all these places around the world that share this type of architecture. But it's not just maybe they just pretty. Maybe just want to do this. Just an excuse to spend money in the arts, right? Beautify the city a little bit. This is in the courtyard of the Vatican. What is the destroyed ball, and this one is amped up. This is more detailed, intricate than any of the other ones in Japan and Germany and New York City. A gold destroyed ball that has another ball inside of it that's destroyed, and all of it looks like an advanced machine with internal wheels and cogs. So we're going to go over in part 19. We're going to go over the Eye of Ra and eclipses. So this is going to be something that's going to wrap up this idea of the sphere that we see everywhere and why it's so important to the occult, what it matters to them, why they worship it. And then in part 20, we're going to look at Mother Babylon, which is the dragon's lair. And we're going to talk about identifying the actual home, if you will, of Satan. Where's he hanging out? Yes, I know a lot of people say, well, 1 Peter 2, he's like a roaring lion. It's roaming the earth, seeking whom he may devour. You think he just constantly walks around, never sleeps, never stops, never has a place where he just plans other things? Think he's just always on the go? No. Everyone has a home. So I really appreciate everybody enduring through tonight's build up to part 19 and part 20. So we have appreciate the super chat. Chase is asking, what is it? All caps. Let me know. Please stay tuned. Please thank you for the super chat, brother. But stay tuned for part 19 and 20, where we're going to dig into it with the big reveal, if you will. It'll be a double header, probably about 4 hours that night. We'll be going over, and that one I'm actually going to have a lot of scripture involved. This one was more of a lead it up, like I said, because it's the black sun. It's representing the black sun that the occult loves and worships. So we're going to look at what it is that, why did ancient Greece have it? Why did the Egyptians have it? Why does the nations of the world today symbolize it and artistically show it in different ways? And why do some of the representations look like it's a destroyed ball? It's weird. It's weird. So guys, if you have any questions, you're welcome to put them in the chat. Yeah, I'm sorry. Some people are disappointed. I'm sorry, guys, but this is not, I'm not sure how many of you have had the chance to understand throughout history how they've had the sphere, they worship the sphere, they idolize it, they depict it in various ways. And I didn't want this entire episode to be, because I had a whole bunch of other slides that I was going to just show you that essentially their worship of the sphere is how they got the model for the deception of the ball earth. But I didn't want this entire episode just to turn into a huge discussion on biblical cosmology, because we'll get there. It all matters. It all matters. But it'll make a lot more sense once we get to the dragon's lair. But ultimately, guys, this is why the occult sat down and said, I don't like Genesis 1. I don't like what the Father described as creation. So I'm going to make something else. So therefore, instead of worshiping the God of heaven and earth and accepting what he has described their reality to be, they look to a dark and ominous sphere to determine their reality, and shaped everything they could. Well, it's actually poorly shaped with incomplete mathematics and unobserved theories. They put everything they could into trying to wrap reality around a sphere and tell you live on a ball. But that's not what the Father said. But of course, they don't like the Father. They hate him, and they don't like anything he said. They want to twist the reality of everyone else away from the Father's truth, so you will believe their lie and they'll have power over you. Whether you guys realize it or not, the perpetration of the heliocentric evolutionary model with balls in space is the ultimate pinnacle representation of their worship to Satan. And it's forced in everybody at all times. From the moment you're born, it's forced upon you. Blue Doves will be answering the meaning of the ball, as in addition to what I just explained, in addition to the meaning of it being their physical representation of deception, which is why they patterned their version of creation after it, their mythos of an unproven evolutionary heliocentric model. That's in addition to that, which is a huge implication for the worldwide deception. There's a reason why they chose that symbol. And that's what we'll be going into in part 19 and 20, our double header. I hope to get to that in about 2 weeks. That's my goal with all the other stuff I'm doing. Yeah, seeking confirmations to the Daily Planet. Superman had a sphere on top. They all do. It's everywhere. You'll start noticing this, guys. When you start watching movies and TV now, you'll start noticing it's literally everywhere and in everything. They make it as much as they can. They put this image of the sphere in as many things as they can, as often as they can. It's in all types of movies. It's crazy. Westway's Music is saying Elysium. Yeah, same thing with Elysium, home, quote unquote, home of the wealthy elite who had no sickness, no disease, perfect technology. But Elysium was designed almost like a Halo. You guys are familiar with the game Halo. It was in that idea, which is what Halo is, right? It's a ring hanging out in the sky above where their people live. So we're actually going to go into, in part 19 and 20, as we look at the eclipses, as we look at the Eye of Ra more, as we look at the actual Mother Babylon, I'm going to be showing you guys like how they're literally planning for the future with people like Jeff Bezos giving speeches, planning for us to live in the sky. And I'll explain with clips. And at that point, if I get demonetized, it's not about that, but hopefully they won't turn off the stream like they've done sometimes, because I'm going to have to play some lengthy clips, like 7 to 10 minutes, so that you guys can hear the full speech of what these guys are announcing that they're planning for the world in the next 20 to 50 years. So people always like to ask me, Sean, when's Jesus coming back? Where do you think we're at on the timeline? You know, if you know all this information, everything, and that's why I tell them we got 50 to 70 years minimum, 100, that more, maybe more like 100 to 200. But because the enemy is planning some things to bring this deception to the point of what they want to do with the alien invasion deception, and what they want to do with tricking the world into disbelieving the return of Christ, disbelieving the biblical cosmological model of the kingdom that's coming. They want to trick the world away from that. So they have to incrementally throughout society over time establish certain things. Hopefully, as you can see, I've been revealing to you that they've been rehashing old deceptions for the modern generation incrementally over time to establish their grand deception. And the grand deception is Mother Babylon. And we'll be explaining that. This is why it gets thrown down in Revelation. It's destroyed. Yeah, I know a lot of people don't like my estimation on the timeline, but it's all backed by everything I talk about in these videos. That's where I get my conclusion. Jin T is asking, since it's going to be about 4 hours long, are you going to start it earlier? Yeah, it's going to be a night where I have to push everything else aside and make sure I don't have any other meetings. And yeah, I'll start it earlier. Grab the popcorn and settle in. Thank you, SR. Appreciate you. Appreciate you, SR. Prodigal Son, yeah. This will make a lot more sense when we get to part 20. The Atlas, they only changed it recently to him holding up the world, but he's actually holding up the heavens. And we'll get there. We'll get there. Good catch, brother. Oh, thanks, Genty. I appreciate it. Tom is asking, black cube versus black sphere, related in any way? Why are these two different shapes? Yeah, the black sphere is like the image of Saturn worship, also like satanic worship as well. But the sphere is not as, the cube is not as symbolic as the sphere. So in the cube, I know that there's some symbolism and imagery about the cube in lots of different movies and things like that. And that is more akin to Saturn worship, but that's not as popular as the sphere amongst the occult. I know, yes, it's also in Mecca, the big cube that they supposedly houses the space rock that fell, the meteorite that fell from space, is the modern lie, the modern story. There's cubes in all types of movies. Obviously, it was a big deal in the Infinity War movies and the Marvel depictions of it. But it's not. It can be a point of power, but it's not the actual point of symbolism like I've been discussing tonight, versus the sphere that's layered throughout the occult. Yes. Yes. I would appreciate it. Well, I'm gonna take like a 10-minute break or so in between. So, but yeah, if you can make me a snack tray, that'd be amazing. Seeking confirmation. That could be a little nod in that movie to that. Because I always thought it was outlandish that they would have this huge rolling ball in that chase sequence. Yep, Space Needle in Seattle's the same way. Same thing with the top of lots of different, lots of different tower-like tourist attractions. The Eiffel Tower. There's spherical things at the top of that as well, and designs. And what's interesting is in that movie Tomorrowland that we looked at, the Eiffel Tower. Man, I wonder if I actually let me look at something real quick. In that Tomorrowland movie, they actually used the Eiffel Tower at one point. Hmm. They go to it, and supposedly it's a hidden rocket inside the Eiffel Tower that takes them to a different dimension, which I thought was hilarious. One second, let me see if I can find something. Huh. Okay, I guess that was it. All right. So yeah, it's in everything, guys. It's absolutely in everything, and you'll see as we get there. You'll see what this is all about and why I've been teasing this idea, because it's not just simply the fact that they like the shape of something, right? It's not just geometry. Oh, they just love the shape of this. It's pretty. No, it is a concept that the enemy uses, and because he uses it, he has taken that concept, and that's why they symbolically always reference it and pay homage to it in their version of respect and worship to it. And they want you to defend it as well, which is why they have the whole world defending the ball earth. It's the opposite shape of creation. And someone else created that other shape. The Father didn't create that shape. I mean, don't get me wrong. Yeah, the spheres, yes. Father can create anything. I'm just meaning the shape that we're told that the powers that be tell the world that the shape of creation is a ball in space. That's not what the Father created. And that's not what he describes. The enemy has described that, and we'll get into why. Terry Holt is, this is one thing that in my research for all this, I did know that Puerto Rico, apparently there's been a huge archaeological find of tons and tons of stone carved spheres that were unearthed. But I haven't seen any conclusions. There weren't any hieroglyphs on them. There wasn't any kind of plaques or stones that were found with anything attributing what those were. They're still kind of, if people do know what they are, they have not released it through archaeological press releases. So ultimately, though, I mean, like I said, they were carving these same types of things in ancient world, ancient Greece, ancient India, ancient Egypt and ancient Greece. They were already using the same type of stuff in other places as a symbol of something else, and this is why it's. We'll go over it. RoboShark, I do think that they have them, but not in the numbers and not in the. I think they're possibly still experimenting with relearning that information, if you will, if I could put it like that, with modern day science and labs. They will be, in my understanding, they're going to be pushed on the mainstream to be a regular normalized thing to have chimeras come back. This is what I believe. It's actually being referenced in Revelation 19, where it talks about Yeshua and his angels destroying the mighty ones and the kings of the earth and their armies. So, but I just don't think we're there. That's another reason why people ask me the timeline. I say minimum 50 to 70 years. They're going to bring back the days of Noah, guys. They're going to bring back out and out open occult worship, just like they used to have at the temples and the pyramids in the past. They're going to bring back worship of Mother Babylon. I'll get there, part 1920. And they're going to bring back chimeras. There's going to be a return of the giants and chimeras, and which is what they're already pushing with CRISPR technology and all sorts of agendas as we see it to ignore gender and to ignore your biology. It's already being pushed on the world. Chase, no, I apologize. The next episode, we're not talking about black holes. We will talk about the black sun imagery further as we investigate more into the Eye of Ra and eclipses. I'm not sure what you mean, SR. You're asking why aren't there chimeras in history? I would, check out my previous episodes. I did multiple episodes on this. Part 6. Check out part 6 of this series. Go to the playlist, Mystery Babylon, go down to part 6, and I review historical chimeras. It's also in the Bible. Corey Feller, I don't know. I don't know about the significance of the giant beans in Chicago. I apologize. And I think you're talking about the actual artistic artwork in those big open areas in between the buildings where it looks like a big bean. But I think it's not supposed to be a bean, if I'm not mistaken. It's supposed to be something else, just like I could be wrong, but yeah, thank you, David. Sure. Welcome back, brother. Yeah, it's a chimera, according to like a modern day scientific definition, is just going to be someone that's made up of cells from two or more individuals. But there's even I didn't have the clip prepared because there's so much of this, guys. I can only fit so much into these broadcasts. But there's a clip of Elon Musk talking about how, with a reasonable amount of effort, if you had the the right RNA sequence and DNA sequence, you can make anything you want. I mean, you could turn someone into a butterfly. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm going to be emperor on Mars someday. Yeah. I think I misquoted him a little bit, but that's essentially what he was saying. But yes, I mean, they out and out the quote unquote elites, the powers that be, the people that movers and shakers in science and technology and government. They've openly admitted, there's been article write-ups on it, that they're already hundreds of chimeras every year, that in government funded projects and laboratories, hundreds of chimeras every year are being explored. I talk about this often, that one of the more famous ones, let me say it like this. Everyone knows about Dolly, but that was more of a cloning effort, which is still a chimera because supposedly it had 40% human organs. But in 2011, DARPA announced that they actually had successfully crossed the DNA of a spider with a goat, so that therefore the spider's milk produced the spider silk. Yeah, that's a bar. Don't hate the player at the game. So the goats, the crossed spider with the goats, had the goat's milk producing spider silk. And as a result of that, they were harvesting in greater quantities that spider silk so they could actually turn it into an advanced bulletproof vest for soldiers. Because apparently spider silk is, if you just went into a little spider farm and tried to harvest it, it would just take forever. And it's almost impossible because you can't put enough spiders in close proximity to each other because they're territorial. So they start killing and eating each other. And then they're definitely not producing as much silk as you would like, right? So they had to go in and say, what can we get genetically viable that would produce this same material in greater quantities? So then they went to a bigger animal and found out that the goats is compatible with the spider. What is the imagery? What is the most famous symbol of the occult? It's the downward pentagram, the goat head. It's interesting. All right, guys, I'm checking out your comments and questions. We'll probably end the show soon. I got Big weekend coming up, guys. We're on my main channel. We're gonna be picking up the tour portions. I have a whole new look and feel for it. We're gonna have a different format. I think you're gonna love it. We're gonna have guests on, and it's gonna be um, giving you. We're still gonna go through the traditional tour readings, but I'm gonna give you a more companion passages that have to do with different parts of the Bible we don't always address. And so, with a totally new way to understand them and read them. In fact, I'm even dropping the lesson plan on my Patreon for our patrons to look at it ahead of time, with extra cross-referenced verses for them to study out little alternative ideas if they want, that I probably won't be have time to address in the actual tour portion broadcast. So we got a lot going on. That's going to be tomorrow on my main channel, Kingdom in Context, at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. Is going to be and I have to play catch up because I was gone last week, and I went and attended Rob Skipa's memorial service in the Dallas area, and I missed the tour portion last week. So I'm going to play catch up for the next couple weeks, and so I'll be doing 2 tour portions per week for the next couple weeks. So I'm doing one tomorrow on Friday, another one at the normal time at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time on Saturday, and then the same way the following week on Friday and Saturday. So it's going to be a lot. And then we got Lindsay and I tomorrow night, Milk and Meat. Husbands Love Your Wives is the name of the, we're going to be talking about marital relationships, good and bad, and what the scriptures have to say about it. And then on Sunday, we've got Honor of Kings, where Ken and I will be reviewing the book of Jasher. Now, that's actually going to be on Ken's channel, Hanging on His Words. So be sure to check that out, guys. Be sure to check that out. And if you haven't already, if you don't know about West Blaze Music's channel, you should go check that out, because I'm on there co-hosting a show on Wednesdays. It's called Uncommon Ground. And we just had a stellar episode last night where we went over the Kingdom Come. Lots of details about the coming kingdom of God. So go check that out on West Blaze Music's channel. And I think you'll be blessed by that as well. TJW, here's the question. The question, right? I don't always... Okay. I love and respect all of my brothers in the faith, and especially the brothers that have the courage, the passion, the dedication to get on camera and talk about scripture. That being said, I don't always agree with their conclusions. I don't always agree with their presuppositions coming to the text and what they think certain things mean and which leads them to a specific interpretation. So about 4 years ago, 2017, there was several prominent brothers in the faith that have their own channels that talked about the Revelation 12 passage and interpreted it through the lens of the eclipse that was happening that year and some other events in the stars. I did not agree with any of it at all. So much love and respect to those guys, but I not even a shred of what was being interpreted in that vein would line up with what I understand Revelation 12 to be talking about, or anything that was happening at that time. So that's why, to me, your question, I appreciate your question. But it's not even a question to me. Like it's not a correlated question, because I put no weight in those interpretations of Revelation 12. So it has no bearing on when I say I look at the state of the world and the state of the enemy and the type of perpetrations they're doing, and then cross-reference that with what scripture tells us will happen at the day that Yeshua is returning and what the world looks like at that time. We're at minimum 50 to 70 years away, possibly 100 to 200. So that's how I come to my conclusions. But yeah, it's a good question, brother. Oh, thank you, Miss Terry. I appreciate the compliment. Thank you. I'm trying to keep it interesting. AR is asking, where do they hide all these creatures they're creating? Well, I don't know if they actually have to hide them. They're in government-approved laboratories. They write press releases about a certain amount of them, at least the ones they're willing to tell you about. And I think a lot of them actually just don't live, so they just get discarded. Or they could be on a schedule for discarding them, But at the same time, I would encourage you to look up DUMB. DUMB. It's an acronym for Deep Underground Military Bases. They're all over the United States or in other countries as well. I talked about them a little bit in part 4 with the flying machines. Yeah, ancient flying machines. And I equated it to modern flying machines, right? And I showed some underground bases. They have underground hangars for airplanes, supersonic jets. I mean, they have these incredibly long tunnels that they've built all across the United States, at least. I can't speak for every other country, and I'm pretty sure they're in other countries. I even had military quotes from people talking about after World War II, their biggest desire was to build underground tunnels. It was a huge push for the military industrial complex. And these were tunnels that would connect underneath most of the prominent countries around the world, tunnels big enough to have tanks and super tanks go through and jets fly through. And yeah, that would be easy place. And their entire military bases along with these tunnels. In fact, I've shared this story before that when I used to work for Enterprise Rental Car, I had a customer in the car. I had to take, Enterprise's little slogan was, "We'll pick you up," So they, sometimes we had these corporate accounts with different businesses. We'd have to go pick people up and bring them back to the store so they can get their rental car. And I was talking with this guy that he was saying that his daughter worked for a military organization in Washington, D.C., and that she actually on a regularly throughout the month, she spent like 10 to 15 days underground in one of these deep underground military bases, like half a mile under the earth underneath Washington, D.C. And she said it was like a strange experience for her to go, on this elevator ride all the way down. And then when she would come up after a week or two, like back on the surface, she said it was just a weird experience, because in the military base underneath, half a mile down, was an entire city of people. There was like thousands of people down there. They had their own quarters for sleeping, like barracks, if you will. They had their own shopping centers. They had restaurants. They had their work facilities and labs. They had big hangars and storage facilities. It's like their own little mini city down there for thousands of people. And they were connected by big tunnels. So yeah, they can hide them lots of different places, if they even have to hide them, because they're talking about them out in the open. Chase is a great question, brother. No. You can do your best to defend your home, your family, the people around you. This is Torah. You can defend them from evil, from aggression, from unrighteous attack. But ultimately, the things that are going to happen with the nations and the perpetration of the enemy that it happens on the nations, Revelation 13, 7 through 10 is pretty clear that this beast is given authority to speak blasphemous things against the sanctuary and against heaven, against God the Almighty for 42 months, and he's given authority to persecute the saints and overcome them. And he does. There will be survivors of the day of the Lord, of people that aren't saved. There will be people that are, quote unquote, saved, that take part in the first resurrection on the day of the Lord, that hadn't been killed yet or martyred. To what extent, I'm not sure what country you live in, but to what extent will these worldwide deceptions and chaos and all the plagues and the things leading up to the 42 months before the return of Yeshua, to what extent will it affect each country? I'm not sure. I can't, there's no way to calculate all that. I just know that the scriptures tell us that, the riders on the horse, they go out to make war against the nations. And there's, another Revelation 9, the sixth trumpet, go out to kill lots and lots of people, lots of devastation, lots of death, people dying from plague and disease, people dying from starvation, people dying from earthquakes, people dying from, war, the burning of cities, that the Antichrist himself, the beast himself, is going to be on the warpath to attack nations. Just endure to the end. This is why in Revelation 14, the Father, I think it's verse 10, the Father says, this requires patience on the part of the saints. This requires endurance and patience. So I don't know if anybody will be able to really stop or defend from what's coming. You can do your best. There may be people that, different pockets around the world that aren't affected as much as others, but I have a feeling that everybody's going to be affected. That's why the Father himself tells us this will happen, and he needs patience on the part of the saints. So that's right, deciphering truth. We will not all sleep. Some will be changed in the twinkling of an eye. That means they're still alive. Also in Revelation 13:10, he who's destined to be slain by the sword, that's going to happen. Who's destined to go into captivity, that's going to happen. So that could be the people that are not asleep, that are not killed when Yeshua returns, because they've been taken into captivity by the beast, sprout out across the empire of Babylon, across the world. So we just got to build ourselves up in our faith, our love for family and brethren, and do what you can to make yourself sustainable and secure. I'm doing what I can, and I'm actually working on something else too. So, but yeah, just do what you can, and just praise the Father all the way through, because when it's all over, this world's going to be amazing. Evil's going to be stomped out. Unclean spirits will be put away, destroyed. The Father will reign. His Son will be here. The kingdom will be here. It'll be amazing. It'll be amazing. This is it's amazing that people reject the Bible in the face of such blatant evil across the world. It's truly amazing. Like, it's amazing to me. Like, especially with showing you all the things I've showed you guys throughout this series, that an atheist could still look at all this stuff and go, nah, that can't be. Nah. And meanwhile, their governments are killing people and planning wars and planning mass depopulation and talking about it openly. It's just amazing to me, the blindness and may the Father open their eyes, because it is absolute diluted blindness that they can see this world and think there's so much evil in this world. And then their next thought is, I blame God. And you're like, oh, wait a minute. Shouldn't all this evil in this world validate the God of the Bible, who says he's the end of the story is he's going to come back and stop all of it? Like, it's just amazing to me, the mindset or the lack of. Chase says, thank you for the super chat, brother. Appreciate it. He's saying, so not even prepare with weapons to defend our family, not even try? No, actually, I think I said the opposite in the very, very beginning to answer the question. Defend your family, yourself, your community. I've actually done an entire podcast on this. It's called Self-Defense, I believe. It's number 41 or number 40, I think, on the podcast. So go check that out if you want. I go through all the scriptures on it, and yeah, defend your family. We'll actually be talking about this a little bit tomorrow night, Lindsay and I, on a Milk and Meat. Defend your town, defend your people, defend your loved ones. If people are aggressing unrighteously and they're aggressing through oppression and tyranny, if they're trying to to steal, kill, and destroy, you absolutely have the right to defend yourself. But when you're asking me in time events, worldwide implications, is there anything that we can do to stop all that? No. The Father's decreed that it's going to happen. So hopefully that's a decent answer for you, brother. TJW, it's a great question. This will be the last one, guys. I appreciate you, everyone, being here tonight. You're asking, do you feel Deuteronomy 30 doesn't suggest that the gathering isn't soon? Okay, there's some double negatives in here. So you're saying, do you feel Deuteronomy 30 doesn't suggest that the gathering isn't soon after his people return to his ways? Doesn't suggest that the gathering isn't soon. Doesn't suggest that the gathering is soon. Doesn't suggest. I don't know. I honestly, the double negatives throw me off. Deuteronomy 30 is talking about the day of the Lord, the resurrection, and the kingdom come, and then all the nations being drawn to him. So it actually also lends into the Matthew 25 sheep and goats judgment. All right, guys. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. You guys are awesome. Hopefully, thanks for enduring tonight, because it's necessary in this series as being a part of noticing, just like we've noticed all the symbolism of the beast and the second beast and the image of the beast everywhere. We're also noticing the symbolism of something else. And we're going to get into that part 19 and 20. It's everywhere, because it is in your face, the enemy trying to, it's the most braggadocious thing the enemy's ever done. It's the most blatantly wicked and obvious thing the enemy's done. But when you guys see part 20, Lord willing, just like it happened for me, you'll see the scriptures and everything pertaining to Satan and the deceptions he perpetrates on mankind. And you'll be like, oh, that makes so much sense. That's why all those verses said all that. That's why this happened here. That's why that happened there. This makes so much sense. This is something that it's been in our face the whole time, just like some of these other deceptions. So thank you guys. Appreciate it. Like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed it. And be sure to check us out tomorrow on our main channel. We got a Power Pack weekend. All right, guys. Thank you. We'll see you later.